Hi guys, it's Joy, and I'm gonna ask you guys to make sure with all my videos watch to the end, because if you saw the title, it might not go where you always think it's going, and you're not gonna get the full context or understand the video unless you watch until the end. Thus, I have people just jumping to conclusions in my comment section, which is fine. I understand not everybody has time for different things and such, but please make sure and watch the videos so you can understand what's really going on and what we're trying to talk about and convey. So, and I'm not sure what order these are going to go up, but I believe I've already put out a video. If you haven't seen it, I'll have links in the description. I'll have it in the cards that there was a very interesting episode of Frenemies recently where Trisha Paytas was on. And in that episode, well, she's on all the episodes, she actually talks about certain situations with Moses, her fiance, and how very hypocritically, apparently, he caught her talking a lot of awful things about her behind her back. And guess what? They're now engaged. And I think that happened like it was in November, and this is January, so 3 months ago. Broke up with him, and of course they're engaged now. Which, how interesting that she would give him a second chance after evidence and proof of this in really horrific ways. But Shane bad for doing it, you know, because it's not like sometimes in private we vent to people or we vent to our friends about other people. Now, I'm not here to say Shane wasn't crap talking or that he hasn't done those types of behaviors before. However, I don't necessarily think to say that he's saying all these horrible things, give zero evidence, and we have zero understanding or context to what it was. And she cut Shane out of her life without even allowing him a conversation or a visit when he asked her to come over to talk. I know he said, let's forget about it, but that's also text. And you never know what's going on with text. You have to actually talk to somebody. So I thought it was very interesting, but there's more. There's more, guys, when it comes to this. And it's kind of concerning. I mean, to put it, very mildly. She comes out on a podcast, her own podcast that has now been deleted, where she talks about and goes into detail about what happened with who at the moment was her ex and where things were. So I'm going to go ahead, by the way, since this was deleted, I had to find this from, I think, somebody named Marky on YouTube. So thank you to that person. They did commentary on this and I clipped together what they had. So if you see a face of somebody randomly or a flash, that's what that is. So I was able to clip together some of it, not all of it, and let's see what happened and let's see what she has to say.
Motherfuckers, welcome back, you guys. Today is a no holds bar episode because I just stopped giving any fucks. This is great. We don't have any ads or sponsors today, so wonderful. This is slowly declining or quickly declining. We don't know. It's gonna be a little bit of a passive aggressive podcast today. I like to be passive aggressive in my real life. No, but H3H3. So if you guys don't know, H3H3 is a podcast I've been on, and I ended up like trying to like fuck the girl. It's a couple that hosts a podcast. I tried to fuck their brother, and I didn't try, I did. And I kind of like caught feelings like weirdly enough because I was like, oh, I'm gonna like use him, whatever. And then motherfucker had sent a bunch of like DMs behind my back. Oh God, lordy. And I forgave him once, forgive him once, cool. They do it again to you, like fucking you're a fool. And I'm not about to look like no fucking clown. Beep. I thought he was the bombest dick, but it's honestly because I thought he was a nice guy. So I think that's why the sex was better, because I was just like, oh, he's like a nice guy, not my normal type, whatever. But he was a nice guy, and I was like, oh, okay. And I'm like, you know what? I like him because he's loyal. He said so specifically to me too, like, oh, I don't DM anyone. I just help people, and once I've helped them, like I move on. There's probably so much more too, because when I asked him, we got in the most epic fight, and when I said all we have to do, because I got his phone right, and he grabbed it from me when I went to go scroll some more, because he unsent it to this girl or whatever. And you see the text messages and the way they talk to these girls, he would say stuff like, oh God, I wonder if they're still up. Should I read the verbiage of guys? And hey, look, I mean, there is a guy from Bumble. I can read you. I'll expose my own Bumbles at the end of this. And just for the record, we don't need to go leave any harassment. This guy's excuse was like, well, we weren't dating. Biggest insecurity is getting made to look a fool, to get made to be embarrassed. And guess what? These always come out when I post pictures of us and shit together. And I was like, really? You're gonna come meet my dad, but like, oh, you didn't. And then when I asked him, I was like, did you really think that like I wouldn't be hurt by that? And he's like, no. And I was like, all right, goodbye. You don't know me. And here's the thing. I kind of clinged on to this motherfucker. I was like, no, please. But the best way, guys, always the best way to get over someone truly, because look, we weren't in love. We just weren't, you know, and people said that, people pointed out, they're like, okay, you don't care. I got some good dick. I got some motherfucking good dick. And I'll tell you about that later. This girl goes to him, water friend, I hope you are not going to sleep now. He goes, I'm here working on my computer. Got time to talk. There's literally a video where he thinks he won't die, where he thinks he's water. He truly feels that he's born water. He's working on a project where he says the beginning of life is water. Motherfucker, it's fucking water. You drink it to stay alive, but you ain't it. He didn't even want to admit that his like hand was the one putting the dildo in my fucking pussy and OnlyFans. You know, Jason's a fucking saint. Let's clap it out for Jason, because he never had this. Like, he really didn't until we broke up, and then he became a fucking wild animal, whatever the fuck. Go ahead, go for it. He's also said some shit before he ever met me. He used to stalk his sisters, listen to his sisters podcast. He's like their number one fan, his sister and his brother-in-law. And like, so I'd go on the podcast and he was talking shit with like other fans about me. I was like, and that was my first thing. I'm like, you just talk shit and then you're gonna ask me out, which is fine. I can't hold him. I can't hold anything against him for that. I was just fucking using him too. I was like, I don't want her to feel like everyone fucking hates her. It's just more of like, hey, why don't you just like say sorry? Like, I did fuck up, and stop trying to like defend and rationalize and give reasoning and explanation, because you know what, at the end of the day, just say, I fucked up for this. I'm sorry for this. I remember even, let's go back. This is take a shot hour at the David Dobrik and Jason Nash mention of the podcast.
I guess she said that she tried to fornicate with Ethan's brother. So from H3, or sorry, Hila's brother, Ethan's brother-in-law. And she said she wasn't trying to do it, but she caught feelings because she was like, I don't want to use him. And then in the process of that, he sent a bunch of DMs behind her back. She says, I thought he had the best genitalia for sexual pleasure and was a nice guy, but not my normal type, but whatever. Weirdly enough, I caught feelings. And she says, but my biggest concern and my fear is to get made to look like I'm stupid and I wasn't going to be a clown. First of all, let's break some of this down, because some of this isn't really making sense. She basically says, I tried to have sex with the brother and she caught feelings because I don't want to use him. Well, you set out to use him and obviously you did use him. You used him for that and then caught feelings. So Trisha's being caught using people selfishly. But Shane bad for saying a few things behind her back that we don't even know if it's real or not. I just find that interesting. She says, well, should you catch feelings so you don't feel guilty about the fact that you're using him? Does that mean the feelings are real? And I'm not saying they're not. I'm just saying it leaves a lot of questions. And then she went into detail about his genitalia and how much it pleasured her, which, I mean, that's fine if that's what she wants to do. And she says, well, she thought he was nice, not my normal type. She caught feelings. And she says, I don't want to be made to look stupid, and I wasn't going to be made a clown because of what he did with these DMs. She said they sent these DMs behind her back. She says she thinks the sex was actually better with him only because she thought he was a nice guy. So she's putting down that area for him. Good job. She says, I also thought I liked him because he's loyal. He said, I don't DM anyone. And when people do contact me in direct messages, I just help them and move on. And she says, there's so much to it. They had an epic fight. And she says, he's grabbed my phone when I was looking at it. Okay. And so she has admitted I disrespected his privacy by looking at his phone when he didn't want me to. And she says, from that, she just wants to be done with it. And they had an epic fight. And she says, I saw much more on the DMs. And she says he would say things that were ridiculous. And then his response is, well, we aren't dating. So when she called him out on this, he said, well, we weren't dating. So I guess they were on a break at the time. And the funny thing is, Trisha, I guess, like had sex with 10 people during that. And these were just some direct messages that she disrespected his privacy to get into to see. And she says, don't go harass him. She says, his excuse is that we weren't dating. And she says her biggest insecurity is to look made like a fool and to get embarrassed. then why does she do all the things to embarrass herself? I honestly don't, I kind of don't believe that statement. I mean, maybe to an extent, but like her whole career, and she admits this, she says, she basically allows people to disrespect her and not take her seriously to get paid, right? She literally exploit. She says she loves Anna Nicole Smith because on the reality television show, people would come up to her. It was filmed saying, don't you realize these people are embarrassing you and mocking you and exploiting you? She goes, long as I'm getting paid. Trisha's like, she idolizes that. So like, it's kind of like she wants to have her cake and eat it too. You know what I mean? But if you're going to be like that in your professional life, that's going to bleed over into your private life. And I hope one day she gets to a point where she won't allow herself to be paid to just be disrespected in the butt of a joke. I don't necessarily like her for several reasons I've pointed out to you guys, but I can respect her in some ways as a businesswoman. Not a ton, only because I think she's done a lot of things to take the easy way out, and she does a lot of destructive things to people to try to ruin other people's careers to lift her up, which I think is awful. I don't like to operate that way in my business. And she says, his excuse is we weren't dating. My biggest insecurity is to look a fool and to get embarrassed. I think that comes from her rejection issues, but in her career, she's fine if that happens, which is weird. She says, and these text messages always come out when we post things about being together or photos that she gets more DMs and things. She says, you want to come to me to try to act like this. I asked him, didn't you think I would be hurt by that? And he said no. And I said, okay, bye. I kind of clinged on to this guy. The best way to get over somebody, and we weren't in love, truly, and I don't care. I mean, there's so many contradictory statements. And she also did this on the podcast that don't make sense. He says, I didn't think you were upset. Well, maybe it's because you were out, having sex with 10 different people. And then she says, okay, well, I'm just going to end it, bye. And then she does this thing where it's interesting because she's upset and she's bothered by it, but it's almost like she's trying to save face, or she's wildly swinging back and forth in her emotions. And she just dismisses him. Remember, she was diagnosed as a narcissist. The very narcissistic thing is just to throw somebody away like that. And she kept saying, well, we weren't in love. And she says, truly, I don't care. I got some very good sexual pleasure from it. I'll tell you later about it. She says, and I guess in the DMs, this is what somebody had said to him, water friend. Because I guess his whole thing is he's really fascinated with water, which more power to him. If you look at I think Mazarato, I'm probably saying it wrong, Emoto. He does a lot of different information and studies about water, which are fascinating. So for me and my kind of, spiritual past and who I am now, even as a spiritual person, I find that stuff fascinating. Like the fact that we're all made of water. Water can transmute. Water can heal. Like the studies were like, if you put negative words on a cup of water and you see the particles versus positive words, it's really fascinating and kind of shows what our intentions, our thoughts, different things can do to our body. I love Dr. Emoto's work. So I'm just saying, I don't blame him for being fascinated with water because it's fascinating. And she says, I guess somebody had said to her something. First, they called him water friend, which she seems to kind of say is like an insult. Water friend, I hope you aren't going to sleep now. And he says, I'm working on my computer and I'm here. Do you have time to talk? And she said in a real seductive way. We don't know if that's what happened, and then she says that he thinks he won't die because he's water, and he truly feels he's water. He talks about how we're all water and we're born as water. And she goes on to say, then the beginning of life is water. And she says, water is water. You drink it to stay alive, but you aren't it. Trisha, that is factually wrong. We are like 70 to 80% water. And what he is saying, I think he's more talking about the spiritual concepts of like transmutation, that people don't really, leave the planet, that instead our energy transforms into something else. Now, I don't know his work. I haven't seen it. I just know enough about that type of realm of things that may be what he's talking about. And it's literally factually wrong, Trisha. We are water. It's almost impossible to sustain life without some form of water. Not all the time, but scientifically, I'm just saying, he's not wrong. So then, and she's just kind of mocking him. And it's like she's mocking his life work, which I'm sitting here going, if you're not really into his life work, what are you doing with him? And on top of that, you saw that. I get real clingy. I clung to him. Well, I clung to him, but I don't care. I clung to him, but I don't care. Well, and that's the other thing. It's just like, I don't know how she's going to have any healthy relationships to keep acting this way. So she clings and then she just dismisses. Again, kind of narcissistic, but she's been diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder from Dr. Drew. So, I mean, it's not a surprise. And she says, water is water, you drink to stay alive, but you aren't it. He didn't want to admit that it's his hand. Oh, and then she outed this information because, you know, I guess when you're on social media and you have an audience, or even if not, you should put this information out there. I guess something he was uncomfortable with is that an OnlyFans, and you guys know OnlyFans is a site for adult content. I guess there is a video of somebody doing something to her with their hand in her genitalia, and she's admitting that that was him, and that he didn't want to admit that that was him inside of her. Well, then why would you put that out, Trisha, if not to just hurt him with private information? I mean, I know she doesn't like Onision. Onision's been a bully to her, but isn't this similar to what Onision did to other people and women? He weaponizes their private information against them, but if it's Trisha, it's okay. And you know what? Maybe he doesn't want to be associated with all of that. Did he feel pressured to do that? Just going to say, if you haven't seen my other video, check it out because it's really horrible. However, per what he has said in a video, he has basically agreed to that Trisha has pressured him or forced him into some type of sexual activity he didn't want. I'm just the messenger. People are saying it's a joke, but if it's a joke for him, why aren't they jokes for Shane? Even though Shane's now horrible, I'm just putting it out there. I don't know. I don't exactly know. None of us exactly know. So then she starts talking about another ex. Of course she does. Says Jason is a saint. Let's clap it out for him because he was never like this. And then we broke up and he became a wild animal. I guess she's saying he was never somebody she didn't have to not trust. But when they broke up, he got promiscuous. Well, that's his right, you know. And she might be hurt by that. Maybe not. I don't know. But that's his right. And apparently she's promiscuous too. It's interesting that she says that. Like, why would you even need to say that? Because when you and Moses, this is the guy's name, when you and Moses, Ethan's brother, parted ways for a while, you literally slept with 10 people and all he did was message people. And granted, I understand for her it's a trust issue and I get that. But still, it's like she's not looking at context. It's all about her and her emotions. And so she says he became a wild animal, which is his right, just like she got super promiscuous. And there's not, and you know what? I'm not going to sit here and knock that, you know? I mean, I don't think it's necessarily the healthiest of behaviors, but people do weird things in pain, right? What is that phrase? To get over somebody, you need to get under somebody or something? I don't know. And then she says he, in a creepy way, stalks his sister's podcasts and his family members. And she starts out with, he stalks his sisters. Like, words in the most manipulative ways to try to make him look bad. And she says, or he listens to them. Well, yeah, he listens to their podcasts. So what? Like millions of people do too. She says he would be talking crap with other fans about her. I was like, are you going to ask me out when you talk crap? But I was using him too. If you mess up, say sorry, quit rationalizing, just own up. How crazy is this whole thing? She admits she started out using him, and apparently he was a troll to her with other people. Like, what is happening? What is life? What in the... So she got with a troll who talks crap about her, who is Ethan's brother, to use him. And then she finds out he was sending messages to people. He didn't even lie about it. I guess he just didn't tell her and they were broken up. He didn't really have to. And she's mad at him for that, but she admits she was using him and only caught feelings because she didn't want to think she was using him and got clingy with him, but then discards him and doesn't care when her feelings get hurt. But Shane, her friend of 12 years, who this hurt worse than any other breakup or any other situation, she literally couldn't give him a phone call or a visit to talk it out. She's mad at Shane because Shane crap talked her and all the things we've heard when we don't know the context. We don't know what was happening. And Shane of 12 years doesn't give any possible room for a conversation or anything. But you'll go back to the guy. And guys, in the other video I talked about this. This guy Moses, he got catfished 3 times by the same person. And in it, they were exchanging sexual messages about what he wanted to do to her, vice versa, and put out personal, private information about Trisha, like saying he doesn't like to engage with her physically because her genitalia does not smell good. And he put out information about her health and her mental health and said he doesn't really like many things about her, like her eating issues. And I guess that's way more important than maybe Shane being irritated because Trisha, I think it was, he invited Peter Monn somewhere, and Peter Monn's a piece of crap. And he is. I'm sorry, I know a lot of people like him, but he's done it to me and other people. He bullies people, guys. The counselor, his first video on me was to mock the fact that I had a Patreon that I set up to help me with my medical bills because go down the street and get a job. I should be on disability, and I'll probably have to look into doing it again. At the time, we didn't have everything fully diagnosed. This counselor is telling people like me who are saying, I'm so sick I can't work, nobody will believe me. Shut up and go get a job and quit taking money from people. I have to work because I'm sick, you have to work. Like complete total disregard for people with disabilities. But, you know, Peter likes to punch down on people. Among so many other things, like calling himself a psychotherapist when he's not licensed. So many things I could go into. But I just find this, interesting. I find it interesting that with her fiance, she will disregard all the things that have happened there. And look, and I'm not saying she should or shouldn't. It's not my place. It's her relationship. But she's made that relationship public. And look at how damaging she's been to him. And somehow he still stands by her. And look at how damaging she's been to Ethan and hila and their family as a total. They've gotten in arguments about her weaponizing information. Apparently, Shane says one thing in their 12-year friendship, and she can't give him even one conversation, one phone call, one visit to talk it out. But look at what she does with this guy. And with her fiance, she admits, I'm just using him and I only caught feelings because I feel bad about using him, and discards him. Do y'all not see this? And here's the thing. I don't know what the situation is. I do know that it sounds like it's all been confirmed by Trisha and Moses, and this is all very, very real that this happened, right? Because this is what she does. She exploits everything in her life and about herself for money. But you can't give Shane the time of day. And we now need to be the biggest bully on the planet to Shane consistently. Why, if that's the case, why is she still with Moses? I'm not going to allow people around me to talk bad about me and talk behind my back. Okay, then why are you still with your fiance? Why are you with Moses? And I'm not saying they should break up. I'm not trying to cancel Trisha. I'm saying if Shane has gotten his cancellation card for all these things, where's Trisha's? And how hypocritical is it that she can't give him a conversation? Instead, she wants to call him Satan and literal evil, and that he has no soul. Okay, guys, if you like this video, please help me out. Give me a big thumbs up, like the video, subscribe, and hit that notification button so you can know when I upload and you can get to watch these videos. Also, comment. Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think I'm off base? I'm just showing you different sides to a situation and an equation that I find interesting. And guys, please share this content with people you think will like it. And otherwise, I'm going to get on to the next video while my health can handle it. Okay, guys, take care, blessings, lots of love. And until the next videos, I'm wishing you guys lots of hugs, lots of kisses, and everybody be safe. And make sure and stay healthy. Focus on your health. Most important thing. Okay, bye, guys.